Welcome to the Beau Show, the home of faith, family, and freedom. In a previous episode, I asked the question, what is a woman? In recent years, as secular progressive Marxist ideology has taken root everywhere you turn, we had to ask that question. Woman was the most searched word in 2022. Radical gender ideology has become a fixture of the culture war. And I thought to myself, is it really possible that everyone is now trapped in the wrong body? Could it really be that many people? Or has it become trendy and fashionable? The reason men and women were created differently is because they have unique traits, and together they are able to reproduce to continue their lineage. Even Bill Maher covered this on his show with Andrew Sullivan. Take a listen.
Why does a 4-year-old come in, instead of teaching them the colors, you're telling them, pick your pronoun?
Well, yeah.
Where on earth did that come from? Who told us it was going to be imposed on children?
And now it's in school curriculum everywhere. I told my kids when this wokeness started happening, this gender thing started happening, it's pretty new. I said, don't be coming home with your gender pronouns. You better be coming home with A's and B's. I mean, that's what it really should be about, our education system.
Well,
and it's not,
but more and more you look at this curriculum, it's all about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's all about identity. It's all about being queer or trans. I mean, children can't understand that stuff. Not in kindergarten.
And you say that as a queer.
Right. I honestly, I don't want to teach 5-year-olds about being gay. I think it's wait a little bit, and they'll pick it up anyway. It's not like they can't watch the TV. I mean, you don't. But what they're doing is not telling them that. They're telling them something worse. They're telling them that people can choose to be a boy or a girl or neither or both or something else entirely.
Right.
That is a lie. You can't. And it's done in order to placate certain special interests in Washington, namely the LGBTQIA plus people who also have been captured by the far left. We should say no to this.
I just don't understand why this is the hill the Democratic Party wants to die on.
Because they're too scared. Both parties are too scared.
They're scared of the base. They're scared
bullied
of the
by
base.
the extreme right, bullied by the extreme left, and no one has the balls to say, no, we haven't had a moment yet.
And again,
when someone stands up and says no.
We're none of this is anti-trans.
No.
No, most of these people who are making the argument we're making are liberal people who think it's a great thing that in America now anybody can actually be whatever they want. And of course, trans is a real thing, rare, but real, but rare. That part seems to be, we all seem to have to pretend that we're born, I don't know, jump ball.
I don't know. They can't change it.
Yeah, and I think the Biden administration is all in on that.
What we have seen is a very systematic and deliberate push to get this gender ideology into not just mainstream culture, but into schools and in the minds of your kids before the prefrontal cortex has even been totally developed. So I want to ask this question: what is a man? And I also want to talk about the subculture and fallout of the answer to that question, because it involves what kind of men are walking on our earth right now, or should I say what kind of acceptable men are permitted to walk around. Some of those men will be emasculated men, and some will call themselves men when they still have all of a woman's anatomy. So a man is not just a man anymore. Culture is trying to redefine it. And while women's sports are certainly being jeopardized by trans women beating them, like Leah Thomas, I think in some ways we have lost sight of what it is to be a man in today's culture, and how challenging that can actually be. Dr. Jordan Peterson has spoken at tremendous length about this topic because he saw this void. He saw the fear and insecurity in young men's eyes as feminism and the LGBTQ plus lobby started to wage war on men. It was like, it's not okay if you're a man, but it is okay if you are a woman who becomes a man. Do you see how counterintuitive that is? Some of my thoughts on this topic sprung from an article I read about supermodel Emily Ratajkowski. You may remember her from the Blurred Lines video. And she recently dated Saturday Night Live actor Pete Davidson for a few months, but they now are broken up. She said on her High-Low with Emrata podcast, quote, "I feel like I attract the worst men." She said they don't know how to handle a strong woman. They start to tear you down, and then you're back to square one. And it's so effed up and unfair, because I feel like a lot of men who truly think they want a strong woman actually don't know how to handle it. Men who claim that they want to date a strong woman, Radikowski added, don't understand what it means for their own identity. On the other hand, the supermodel said that she didn't want a man who was overly confident either. She said, sometimes I'm like, F-U-C-K, because I want a confident man. I don't want an overly confident man who has something to prove and is trying to prove it through me. That is not what I want, she told her listeners. Slowly they get emasculated and don't know what to do with those feelings. And then they resent you, she said. It was really her perspective on this issue that made me want to address this, in addition to the obvious gender war going on. Number one, Radikowski is not a scholar by any stretch, but she likes to fancy herself a feminist. I don't want this show to become focused on her, but because of what she has said and written, I want to use that as a springboard. Rada sounds like a woman who can't make up her mind and wants her cake and eat it too. She dated a guy for a few weeks and then married him. She had a baby and is now divorced. And then she dates Pete Davidson, the Walking Dead heroin addict. Davidson is no strong man. He is what we would call a beta male. The alpha male, of course, is the leader of the pack, the decision maker, the one that females seek genetically for reproduction. The beta male, on the other hand, is weaker. He's a follower. He has subpar genetics, and women often settle for the beta male because they feel like they won't have to worry about him cheating because he's less desirable. He can be pushed around and manipulated, whereas alphas can't. So at the outset, Radikowski decided to date a beta male. Emasculation had already happened. Davidson has been an addict, and he only gets women because of his celebrity status and comedy. Comedy is disarming, but it is not necessarily an alpha trait. It can be used to disguise beta as alpha because people pay attention to it. It's an attention getter. But let's do a quick dive into Radikowski's background because it will explain her woes. She dropped out of UCLA to become a model and quickly appeared in various nude and erotic photo spreads. When she was handpicked for the Blurred Lines video, she claimed it was wonderful because she felt it empowered women to claim their sexuality. But then, Robin Thicke, lead singer, reportedly grabbed her chest without consent during the filming, which flipped her idea of purported feminism upside down. She wants women to claim their power through sexual exploitation, but never for the pleasure of men. So how do you do that? Do you only pose in women's magazines for women, by women? Do you only use female photographers? Do you pose in Playgirl and not Playboy? And then I encountered an interview that she did for Vogue. Clearly one of the journalistic gems of our culture, right? When she got pregnant, here's how she describes it. Listen to this, quote, "When my husband and I tell friends that I'm pregnant, their first question after congratulations is almost always, do you know what you want? We like to respond that we won't know the gender until our child is 18, and that they'll let us know then. Everyone laughs at this. There's a truth to our line, though, one that hints at possibilities that are much more complex than whatever genitalia our child might be born with. The truth that we ultimately have no idea who, rather than what, is growing inside my belly. Who will this person be? What kind of person will we become parents to? How will they change our lives and who we are? This is a wondrous and terrifying concept, one that renders us both helpless and humbled," unquote. This made a lot of sense when I thought about her complaints about finding a strong, unemasculated man. Radikowski won't even gender her kid. Wait till 18 and then they will tell you what gender they are? That is a radical, progressive, oddly named because it is regressive, idea. She's trying to let her kid tell her what to do or be, rather than the other way around. Child rearing is what parents do to prepare and strengthen their kids for a tough world. If you give them no spine, no compass, no rudder, they will tell you what they are. And after 18 years, you might not like it. Giving kids this sort of gender flexibility makes them all too prone to the whims of societal fad. If you pay attention to entertainment and culture, it will seem like millions of kids are trapped in the wrong bodies. That is scientifically just untrue. There's a difference between letting kids play out certain scenarios and taking that to mean that they are transgender. When this compounds over time, you now have an 18-year-old who has no idea who he or she is, but might make an irreversible decision based upon this dysphoria. And then, that's how you get a supermodel whining about why she can't find a man, complaining that men have no identity, and get easily emasculated. That's because you, Emily, and all of your feminist friends are forcing the wrong ideas on society. And here's what also came out of the feminist movement, the term toxic masculinity. Even men's razor company Gillette jumped on this bandwagon, if you'll remember, with their Super Bowl ad, basically labeling all male activity, from roughing around for a backyard game of Nerf football to grilling steaks. There is a huge, huge difference between general male assertiveness and competition and aggression, violence, and rape or harassment. These are not mutually inclusive. Keep watching at epochtv.com/The Beau Show.